welcome back for another great episode of We Speak Dispatch. Yay! And look, we've got our usual crew with us. We got Joe down there. How's it going, Joe?
It's going awesome. A lot of snow and ice in Iowa tonight.
Man, I saw the video you put up. It is a lot of snow out there. Holy cows. Be careful. Leslie, how goes it in California?
It's a frigid 50 here. So all of us Californians have got our blankets and our fires going. So,
Right.
you know.
That's right. Because in Middle Tennessee right here, it's about 50 degrees outside too. And it's quite nippy. The fireplace is on. So we're trying to get warm here. All right. And our special guest today, we're so lucky because she was just in the news. And so I'll have her introduce herself. Tell us who you are, mystery guest.
I am Chris Buckner. I am from Texas, where it's not really cold at all right now. We don't get lucky with the snow and all that.
Well,
No, you get it on some random February day where it's like, oh, okay,
Yes.
whatever. Can't get it on
Under a
Christmas.
sheet of ice. Yeah.
I
Yes.
was going to say, I've been to Fort Worth where it's freezing cold. So yes, I've been there. So Chris, we're going to actually play the news clip of you being featured on the news just recently. And then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about that. Okay.
Okay.
Let's play the tape.
A police dispatcher and officer are now being credited with acting fast to save a man from choking. A camera captured it all just inside the front door of the police station. That's where Jason Allen joins us with the story.
When a man walked into the Blue Mound Police Department and rang the bell at the front window, it doesn't immediately appear like anything out of the ordinary. But seconds before this, images from cameras outside had given dispatcher Crystal Buckner a clue something wasn't right.
When I saw the car speeding through the parking lot and coming to like an abrupt stop, that's when I knew something was up.
She couldn't understand what the man was saying.
But I knew right then it was like dire.
Blue Mound is small and officers are never far away. But that night, Sergeant Lincoln Matheny was just a few feet away handling paperwork.
So it was totally, she comes running back, hey, there's an emergency in the lobby. I, of course, just went straight to the Heimlich maneuver, pulled on him twice. Could tell he was coughing a little bit more and catching his breath. So got him to kind of stabilize a little bit, got him a chair to sit in.
They called for paramedics, but the man said he was fine. He choked on a bite of dinner that his wife had brought to him at work. She got him in the car and floored it to the first place she could think of to get help.
Yeah, instinct just kind of took over and kicked in. The training that we go through, it just kind of dinged in your head and you fly into action.
Instinct, but maybe also experience from employees who earlier that day were awarded Officer and Dispatcher of the Year honors from the department. And that night, they backed it up. In Blue Mound, Jason Allen, CBS 11 News.
Wow, look at that news episode right there. So Chris, so you work at this police department. What's the name of it?
Blue Mound?
Blue Mound. And how big of an agency is that? Is it a big agency or?
No, we're small. We probably have about 17 people within the agency.
17
Total?
officers?
Total. That's officers and dispatchers.
Wow.
Wow.
How long have you worked there?
I have been there for a little over 2 years.
2 years. Okay. And so this
It's-
incident, it came out where somebody called saying they were choking. Is that what happened?
No, they didn't even call. They just walked into the police station there at the lobby.
And you guys have cameras in there and you saw them in there and you're like, what the heck?
Right. Yeah, we have cameras inside and out, so I can see everything as to what's going on. And saw his wife pulling into the parking lot and just coming to like an abrupt stop. He came running in, started banging on our little bell that we have there at the window. And
That
you just
is
kind of
crazy.
fly into action.
So is your dispatch center right there at the window? So when people walk in, you are the one that they talk to?
Correct.
Oh
Yes.
my.
Yeah, we are so small that it's one dispatcher at a time. And so you kind of do everything. You answer admin lines, you go to the window and deal with the lobby, you answer the 911, you do the radios, the traffic stops, everything.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Impressive.
I bow
Yeah.
down to
Wow.
one-seater agencies because when I hear what it is that you handle, talk about multitasking. It is amazing.
Yeah. Crazy.
sure.
I mean, to work by yourself like that. I mean, my goodness. And how long did you say you've been on? I'm sorry. How long did you say?
September was my 2-year mark.
2 years. Wow. And the other people that work with you, are they tenured employees? Or are they fairly new or?
The longest dispatcher we have is right at 9 years, and that's our supervisor. And then we have our newest one is actually one that I just finished training this year, and she's been with us for not even a year yet.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. All right.
So,
Go ahead.
can I ask, Chris, what did you do before this job? Because I
I
always wondered
was-
what brought you here.
I was actually a manager at Walmart.
Oh, my
Really?
Department manager, and I left there and I worked in like temp agency jobs there for a while. I was actually staffing the schools in Dallas
Oh,
for their cafeterias and stuff like that. And a buddy of mine who works for the city was like, "Hey, they're hiring. Why don't you apply?" And I did. So this was my very first dispatching job ever.
my goodness. What kind of training did you, because you said in the article that you relied on your training. What kind of training have you had?
They have sent us to all kinds of schools. We do a lot of hands-on. They make sure that we ride out with the officers while we're in our training.
Oh, wow.
And before we're even released on our own, we are required to have every single bit of our licensing
Okay. And
before
you're-
we're even released.
Does your agency do medical as well? Are you police, fire, and medical? Are you just police only, or how does that work?
So we have police, we have volunteer fire department, and then our medical is MedStar.
Oh, got it.
Nice.
okay.
So I got a question about when this guy shows up. In the video we just watched, this guy shows
Okay.
up. Could he talk at all, or did you have to try and figure it out based on just what his actions were?
No, he could not talk at all.
Oh.
He couldn't get a word out.
Who
he
was with him?
tried.
Was it his
He was
wife?
struggling.
Was his wife with him?
Yes, his
And-
wife is the one that drove him. So they own a company like down the road. And apparently she had brought him dinner in the middle of the night, and it was pork chops, and he took a bite of it and started choking. So she threw him in the car and said, "I'm going to the quickest place I can think of."
Did she, when she came in the door, did she start yelling like, "Hey, we need help in here"? Or
She did, but she knew that we were already in the process of getting people out too.
oh, okay.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. How
So
many
based
people that?
on the film there in the lobby, obviously you can see out of the windows. Can they see you so they knew that help was coming?
No, but I was standing right there and I was talking to them. The way
Okay.
our window is right there, you can't see into it very well, and it's so thick because it's got the bulletproof glass and everything like that. So we can see out, they can't really see in.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
So can I ask, because it said in the video there, you had just received Dispatcher of the Year, which is kind of a big deal.
Wow.
So what predicated that award? And then obviously you were a fast thinker and multitasker. What got you that award?
I ask that question every day, to be honest with you.
As a true
What did
typical
I do?
dispatcher, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. What did I do so spectacular
Oh,
to
my
get
goodness.
that? And to be honest with you, year before last, we didn't do it. The year prior to that, I believe the supervisors just kind of choose who they thought it belonged to. But this year, our chief sent out an email and said, "This is the deadline. I want everybody's votes." So basically, everybody in the department voted for officer, dispatcher, rookie of the year, and then we also have reserve officers. So everybody kind of put their vote in, and that's the way it came about.
And you had the most
What a
votes.
special night to get an
Yeah.
award and then to also deal with this choking thing in
No
less than
kidding.
12 hours time. It's pretty incredible. So congratulations, not only on dealing with the choking person, but also winning the Dispatcher of the Year, both two prestigious things in one
Amazing.
short shift. That's crazy.
And the
Thank you.
sergeant that came out to actually Heimlich this guy was the guy. Did he win the officer of the year thing too?
Yes, sir, he did. Yeah, he won officer of the year.
Man, y'all were just trying to prove
Something
it.
tells me that 2021 may be a redo. Like same. I vote for her. I vote for Chris.
Wow. Do you normally have officers in your building like at all hours of the day and night?
No, not usually. Typically because we are so small, on our shifts, we have one officer that does the 6 a.m. to the 6 p.m., one that comes in and kind of does the mid shift. So we have two officers at max on at a time. And then we have the one that works the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So typically it's you by yourself in the building. And if you need something, then you call them up to the station because they're out on the streets.
So
Yeah.
It just so
let me ask you
happened that
this
he
then.
was working on reports that night.
Since you are the dispatcher of the year right there, so if he wasn't in the building, what would have been your course of action?
I would have been running out there to try and do something myself.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
Being that we're volunteer fire department, I can see when there's somebody there and there's nobody there
Yeah.
that night. And to be honest with you, it takes time for them
Yeah.
to get dressed. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. They're in bed. You know, everybody's in bed at that point in time, typically. So then they'd have to get out of bed, throw clothes on, drive there. It's just one of those things that you knew that there wasn't time to go through that whole process.
So curious, how many times have you uttered these words? Oh, that'll never happen here.
Oh, so many times.
Because how many dispatchers have we talked to across the country that have said those very same words? Oh, it'll never happen here. And yet here you are.
Yeah.
Just,
It is.
we can never
Yep.
think, oh, I work at an agency that's only got 17 people. Oh, I work at an agency that's got 117 people. It is obvious that it can happen anywhere.
Well,
Yes.
and you said you would go out there if there was nobody in your building. You would have went out there. Have you had training in CPR and Heimlich maneuver and all that stuff? Have you had that first aid training?
I have. I used to work in the medical field, so I do have that training. However, I'm only 4'11", so I don't know that it would have worked very well on this man that was 6'2".
So you're going to need to get down on your knees to make it
I
help.
would have gotten. I
Damn.
would have had to stand in a chair like everything
Stand on
else.
chair.
And it's a free for thing.
I'm kind of sorry we didn't get to see that video
Yeah.
because
That would have been better. My goodness. Wow. Well, it's just such a great experience to kind of see how you just made the news and the officer did too. What's the officer's name? Just so we can give him a shout out. What's his name?
Sergeant Matheny.
Sergeant Matheny. So
Sergeant Matheny.
you guys did a great job with that, and it's a great way to represent us. And we're so glad that you responded when I said, "Hey, can we have that girl's phone number?" And they immediately.
So how are you going to make sure that everybody in your center is prepared for this kind of stuff? Because that's the kind of thing where, okay, yeah, it happened in 1 second on one shift, but how do we get the other people trained up to do this kind of stuff? And, how do you make sure that that happens?
Right. I feel everybody should be trained in just those simple medical techniques of the CPR or a Heimlich maneuver. And yeah, we are a small agency, but fluke random things like this could happen at any point in time.
Wow.
So I will be discussing things with the supervisors and chief especially. Yeah.
That's
Were there
Yeah.
any other takeaways besides training your staff in medical instructions? Were there any other takeaways other than that one? Did you learn anything else from this?
The fact that crazy things can happen instantly in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
The thing of it is being at such a small department, there's nights that you sit there and the phones never ring.
Wow.
There's nights where it's a constant thing that you don't get to eat or get a bathroom break and you can't walk away from your console, period.
Right.
So to be able to have that mindset of not being relaxed, to always be on your toes and be prepared for these random little things like this to happen is a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And I think that's a great takeaway for everybody is,
Mhm.
because I think a lot of agencies, even the big ones, at midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, there's nothing going on. But then it's the one phone call, it's the one traffic stop, it's the one guy walking into the lobby because he's choking that can turn everything on its ear. And you've got to go
Yes.
from 0 to 100 in a second. And
Mhm.
clearly, thank goodness you were there. Thank goodness he was there. Amazing.
wow.
Yeah.
Have you had anything like that? I mean, not necessarily medical, but have you had anybody come into your lobby that's really like a problem or it's an unusual incident or something going on there?
Not really, because typically if we have people coming in our lobby, it's to, file like a police report or something or follow up on a police report,
Yeah.
something like that. We never really have anybody come into the lobby that is like in a dire emergency like that because we're so small. They know that our response time is, a blink of an eye anyways. So they'll just give us a call
What
and
a
have an
great
officer come
training
out to them.
opportunity. I love this kind of stuff because I meet dispatch who are solo and it's like, I'm always thinking, I can't imagine working solo with everything. I mean, it's just, I can't even imagine doing that kind of a thing. Having worked in very large agencies, I can't imagine that. So,
One of the things that I was looking for, having worked in a small agency, is Do you have a code, or can you do something on the radio or say something, Chris? Maybe it would be you eating the pork chop next time or something
Oh,
were to
yeah.
happen. And if
Yeah.
nobody's there, how do you summons that person that you need help when you're a solo dispatcher, coming up with ways that everybody on this is on the same page, that they know the dispatcher in the center needs help when you're a solo dispatcher, is something that I know that we talked about at our center, because we used to work with just 2. And then on breaks at times, this is my previous dispatch place, we would talk about, well, now wait a minute, there's only one of us in there. What happens if that person needs help?
Mhm.
And how do we make it known to the responders that the person in dispatch, the only one in there at the time, now needs help? And so I would just encourage people to think about that. If you're the only one and you're the person that needs help, how do you make sure the responders know, even when you may not be able to talk as well?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And that's a very good point, because I've never thought about if I'm not able to talk. Because I have one main officer that I typically work with. It just so happened that that night was not my shift. I was covering for someone else who was on vacation.
Wow.
It's because I typically don't work with Sergeant Matheny. I have another officer that I work with. And a lot of people in our department, they do the plain talk instead of 10 codes. However, my officer is a 26-year veteran, so he loves the 10 codes. And so I know when he needs something and he's in dire need, what codes he would use. And so he knows vice versa, that I would use those same ones for him if I needed something at the station.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Well, and I would imagine, especially at an agency that's small like that, because I work at a smaller agency, where you can just tell with a voice inflection
Yeah.
or a mic click that it's like, spidey senses are going off here.
Right.
So that's the beauty sometimes of a smaller agency. And we were talking about this at my department not too long ago, that you have that opportunity to build those relationships, and they come in and pick up paperwork and you exchange, small talk. So when they do get on the radio and there's something that's not quite right, you
And their
can jump in
voice.
and action.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we all
Knowing
Oh,
know
the
each
person's
other's.
voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and even with working on opposite shifts, because we all cover for each other, because there's only 4 main dispatchers and then we have our dispatch supervisor. So we all know each officer. We all know their voices and they know ours.
Right.
So you can kind of tell that as well, even when they're out on calls.
Yeah.
So
It makes a huge difference, huge difference.
question, because this is maybe a future We Speak Dispatch episode, and Chris, you may be coming back for this.
And you're
Okay,
raising your
so
hand,
for-
like a crazy person, but go ahead.
4 full-time dispatchers, you work 12s, it sounds like.
Oh, God.
Yes, ma'am.
I know where she's going.
So what's your schedule?
We
That
do we do what they call the Panama schedule. So I am night shift and I do the 1800 to 0600.
Okay.
Week 1 will be Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, and then we work the 3-day weekend of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then week 2 we'll have Monday, Tuesday off, work Wednesday, Thursday, and then have a 3-day weekend.
Okay, so it's always rotating. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Panama
Yeah.
schedule. I wonder why they call it that.
I
heard
no
of that.
clue.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So are you fully staffed at 4, or are you hiring more people?
we're actually overstaffed with 4.
No.
Wow.
Oh, for
Yeah.
Hold on. Too many.
Yeah. Yeah, having the 5th one that we just hired this year puts us a little bit overstaffed.
How many
And so we
workstations
have
do you have?
we have 2, but we only utilize 1. Now, if somebody's in training, then we'll use the second workstation.
Yeah.
But we really only utilize the 1.
So right now, since you're overstaffed, you may have to use it. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because, small centers like Sandy Hook, for example, they only have 4 workstations. So when the big event happened at Sandy Hook, everybody came in, but there were only so many seats in the room. And so it was really a challenge even with just 2 seats, when something big happens, what's your mutual aid agreement with? I'm assuming, is it Tarrant County? Is it Fort Worth?
We
PD?
have a mutual aid with Tarrant County, and then we also have one with our neighboring town of Saginaw.
Okay.
And so even our 911 board can be switched over to
Nice.
Saginaw, and they can help take calls.
Nice.
Wow.
And are you on the same CAD system by chance?
I wish, but no. No.
Come on. Come on.
Makes sense.
No, we're on total different CAD systems.
Wow. Well, you know, your comm center, do you guys have like furniture that goes up and down and all this fancy stuff in there? And
We have some chairs that Tarrant County 911 actually gave to us one year that my feet dangle and don't reach the floor in. But our console where everything sits is higher up. So I'm typically typing like this because even the chairs still aren't tall enough.
well, wow.
Yeah. But our building and everything was built in the 1950s. So everything's older. So we kind of just roll with it.
Wow, that's good. That's very modern. So
Yeah. But I would imagine Blue Mound and the community there is so supportive
Yeah.
of what you do. I mean, clearly, okay, so here's a woman, she's watching her husband choke. And her first thought is, oh, I know, let's drive to the police department because that's where we're going to get help. I think that's just so, that's such a testament to the service that you provide to your community. I think that's awesome.
And Leslie, do you want to hear the irony in of it?
Yeah.
She's a nurse.
she's a nurse.
Her wife is a nurse.
Wow.
Yeah. And how many times have we heard that story of
Yeah.
people who you think outside of a stressful situation should know how to deal with it? But when it
Absolutely.
happens, their first thought is either I'm going to call 911 or I'm going to go to 911 and have them help me directly. I think
Yep.
that's just something that we all as 911 professionals need to take away and go, we got to be the experts here.
The other thing is in those small agencies like that, the volunteer people that support the medical and the fire, they are amazing people as well. And I know I work with volunteers as well. They really make the community go and to be able to provide emergency services besides the law enforcement. So shout out to all the first responders out there that are volunteers. I've worked with several of them. And a big shout out to you guys as well. So thank you for volunteering.
Absolutely.
Goodness. I mean, what a great story. I'm so glad we could get you on with us. And I was really hoping we could get you on quickly. So I'm glad we could work this thing out. And
Congratulations.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for representing We Speak Dispatch folks and the way you do your job. Thank you for doing that. We're going to send you some of our stuff, our stickers and our decals, stuff like that. Make sure you take a picture and tell where you're going to put them. We'll send you that stuff. So we really appreciate you stopping by. One thing I'd recommend, you don't have that nurse make you some pork chops. So I wouldn't take anything off of them right now. So congratulations again. We're so happy to have you on our broadcast. So thank you for coming up here and speaking dispatch to all of us.
Yes,
Thank you for having me.
Chris.
I
We
appreciate the
it.
call.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Hey, it's Michelle, and you've been listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, proudly sponsored by our friends at Zybex.
911, what's your emergency?
911 emergency, what's your